Ooh, sorry, the camera just zoomed in a little bit then. I was not expecting it. Sorry if you're up my nostrils a little bit. Hi everyone, and welcome to Green Tech Southwest. We are back after a short hiatus, a little summer break. Although to be honest, I say short, it feels like, for me, it felt like an incredibly long, 2 months that we didn't do one of these. Kept waking up with a fear of being like, wait, I've definitely got something to do today. So yeah, it's good to be back. Hopefully you've missed us as much as yeah, we've missed you, but if not, just spare our feelings. Keep that to yourself. No, I'm joking. Yeah, so if you are looking for Green Tech Southwest, you are in the right place. If not, I reckon you stick around and see what we're about, because yeah, it's going to be a good one today. For those of you who have been with us before, as per usual, feel free to grab a coffee, put me on mute, wait for the show to start, I guess. Although we have actually got some exciting announcements for you this time, so maybe stick around. But yeah, for those of you who are new, welcome. It's great to have you here. Just to sort of give you an overview of what you can expect for today. We'll get started at around 12:30. Well, no, 12:30 on the dot. We're actually very punctual. But yeah, this is just, we thought we'd open the green room just to, yeah, get everyone settled in, just so we don't launch you into the event. Give you a bit of an opportunity to get comfortable, get all your sound settings the way you want it, get your lunches, whatever you need to accompany you through today. So yeah, my name is Ellen Davis. I help sort of run these events with my co-founders, Hannah and Mike, but we'll do a little introduction on ourselves a bit later. But if you're here and you're watching and you're early, feel free to introduce yourself into the comments section. Let me know your name, what you do, where you're tuning in from, whatever you fancy sharing, feel free for it. We love to have a bit of chat and engagement in the comment section, so it doesn't feel like I'm just talking to myself, even though I'm very comfortable doing that. It's nice to know I've got some company. So yeah, but yeah, we also, since we've done these online events, it's been really great to see where people have been tuning in from. We obviously started off being Green Tech Southwest, with the thought of being physical events in the Bristol area. So since we've been online, we've had people tune in from Europe, tune in from the US, tune in from Brazil, wherever it's been really good. So yeah, feel free to introduce yourself and let us know where you're tuning in from. So yeah, we've got a really exciting few announcements for you today. The first thing is that I wanted to mention is that we have got a questionnaire. I don't know, some of you might have noticed we've got a questionnaire circling at the moment. So yeah, just big thank you to those who have already filled that in. That's really great. It's really helpful. I guess the main thing for us is we're really keen to just see whether or not you have made any meaningful connections through the group, whether you've had people collaborate on a project, or if you felt that any of the talks have positively impacted things that you do or anything like that. It's really good for us to know. So if you haven't had a chance to fill in the questionnaire, I'd be really grateful if you could just spare a few minutes of your time and pop that down, or if you haven't got time, feel free to pop in the comment section as well. I live in the comment section, so I will be able to filter that out as well. But yeah, just any sort of anything you'd like to say really about the group would be great. Another exciting announcement is that we have a website now. So as I said, many of you who have been with us for a while or have attended a number of these events will know that I collate any sort of link shared, any information that, because it is so great how everyone is sharing all their knowledge, and yeah, it's just some really useful links and resources get shared. So I usually go through and collect them all, as well as speaker slides, our slides and everything, and pop them in a comment section. But now you will be able to find all that useful, fantastic information on our brand new website, which Hannah has spent an amazing amount of time developing, and it looks really great. So yeah, I will, instead of popping all those links in the comment section, I'll just direct you all to our website. We'll pop a link in as well. But yeah, you'll be able to find today's anything shared in today's event, videos to the link to the playback as well as any of our historic events. They've all been uploaded. Speaker interviews and all that sort of thing will all be in one useful place for you guys to peruse. So yeah, exciting stuff. It feels like we feel very official now. Not that we didn't before, but it definitely adds a bit of swank, doesn't it? Great. So thanks. So we've got Jerry. You're an AI and data evangelist and sustainability advocate. Hi, Jerry. Thank you for introducing yourself, and yeah, welcome to Green Tech Southwest. We will be getting started in about 2 minutes or so. Another thing to mention is, those of you who are familiar, obviously, you've heard this all before, but for anyone who's new, just before the speaker, we welcome the speaker on, the wonderful Michelle, today. We have a 60-second intro section. It's just an opportunity for you as a community to give yourself a bit of a shout out, a shameless shout out, whether that's a project you're working on, something that you think would be really useful to the group, you know, if you need collaborations, or if you just need us to share and spread the word. A shameless plug. So yeah, you'll have 60 seconds to do that just before our main talk today. So if that is something you're interested in, Hannah is going to mention it again just before they do that. But it is worth thinking, if you have something to say, just to, yeah, I don't know, not be thrown on the spot. But yeah, if you just mention it in the comments, we'll be able to pluck you out as well, and we'll invite you on screen. And yeah, you can just do your thing for 60 seconds. But yeah, I thought I'd like to give people some warning, just in case you know, when you suddenly see yourself on screen, it can be a bit overwhelming. So yeah, let us know in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in. So yeah, really exciting talk. It's a little bit different for us today. So as per usual, we'll have some polls which will go up. You'll see them down in the right-hand corner, depending on what browser you're on, but I think it is right-hand corner. So yeah, we'll have a few polls just to sort of see, yeah, what your usage is, or yeah, and your understanding of any of the topics that we discuss. So yeah, you'll see a little icon appear then, and also we've got an ask a question section, which is really useful. I mean, we do keep an eye on the comments, but we will have a Q&A session at the end of the talk as well, where we'll be asking Michelle some questions. So if there is anything that you would like to ask, it's really helpful if we pop it in the ask a question section. It also means that if you know you're not sure about a question, or you know you do want to ask something, but you've seen that someone's asked something similar, you can upvote the questions as well. I mean, we do make sure that most of the questions get answered, even after we wrap up. You know, we tend to invite the speaker back on for a little bit, but if you're pressed for time and you're really keen to get an answer to something, then yeah, the upvote button is very useful. And here's Hannah, ready to boot me off and shut me up.
Oh, you did a great job, Ellen. I know it's been a little while, hasn't it, since we've done a Green Tech Southwest. We were all like, how do we do this again?
Yeah.
But you did a great job, and I think you mentioned all the stuff we've been working on busily over the summer, which is actually quite a list, isn't it? When you were rattling through it all there, websites, questionnaires, all this stuff we've been doing. Anyway, right now I'm right. Let's crack on. Shall we start officially? Good afternoon, everybody. Maybe it's afternoon where you are, maybe it's morning, but it's 12:30 p.m. for us here at Green Tech Southwest, and we're going to get the show on the road. So hope you're all doing well. It's exciting to be back. Let me bring up some slides because they'll stop me losing my way a little bit. Righty-ho. Okay, so should we crack on then, folks? So a massive welcome to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us at Green Tech Southwest today. We are a community group. We are supported by two fantastic networks. The Future Economy Network, that's having a name change to the Future Leap Network, are a big supporter of what we do. So big thanks to those folks. And Climate Action Tech as well, who are a community of tech workers. We'll talk a little bit more about our supporters at the end of today's session. And also a massive thank you to AdLib for supporting the group by sponsoring us, helping us have access to this Crowdcast platform, which we're actually seeing from the questionnaire that many of you really quite like. So that's really nice to get that feedback in and see that. We are on social media. We spend quite a bit of time sharing really interesting stuff and amplifying really interesting stuff on both Twitter and LinkedIn. So hopefully you can see at the bottom. On Twitter, we are greentech_swest. So we couldn't get Green Tech Southwest, which is why we've got that funny name. And on LinkedIn, you'll find us with Green Tech SW as a hashtag. We've also got a page as well. So do feel free to follow us on there and join in the conversation and chat in between meetups. So cracking on. So that's a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes. The three of us that you can see on the screen in front of you, we are the co-founders of Green Tech Southwest. Myself, hello, Ellen, obviously Ellen, yeah, whichever side she's on for you, and Mike as well. So we are co-founders and your organisers today. Now we know that you're not here to see us, so we're not going to introduce ourselves, but if you want to find any of us on LinkedIn or make friends, then we're definitely up for that. But we know that you're here to see Michelle, so we won't go on too much about ourselves. But what we would just like to do is a little bit of scene setting for what we have created Green Tech Southwest to do. So Green Tech Southwest, we've been running now for about 18 months. And the aim is and always has been to create a space to share insights and generate discussion around how technology can heal or harm the planet. So, you know, technology has its good sides, it has its bad sides, especially in relation to the environment and in relation to society as well. And so the purpose of this group is to provide a balanced discussion as much as we possibly can about those factors. So sometimes our talks are about great things that technology can do, sometimes our talks are about the negative impacts around technology as well. We try and cover it all in a balanced way. The other thing that we've kind of baked into these meetups ever since we got going is that we have always felt it very important to support a local community. Our local community is the southwest of England, but COVID forced us online, and actually what we've realised is that we are delighted to welcome a much, much larger community, a global community of many of you to come and join us at these online events. And wherever you're joining us from, you are so super welcome to be here, and we are so stoked that you're finding the time to come and join us today and listen in to Michelle. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being a part of Green Tech Southwest today. And then the other thing is that we aim to have an open and inclusive ethos as well. So whatever you know about tech, whatever you know about sustainability, and as I mentioned, wherever you are in the world, you are very, very welcome here, and we are super chuffed that you're here. And very shortly, we already popped in the comments. That was well done. Code of conduct is there should you need to read it. It's a bit of a less of an issue when we're online like this, but the short version is be nice, appreciate that other people have different viewpoints to you, and always be kind and always be caring. Really, that's all we ask. And our constitution as well is in the links, is in the comments. Ellen already mentioned our website. We kind of realised back in July that we've had some loads of speakers and really, really great people that have been kind enough to come along to Green Tech Southwest and share their knowledge and talk about topics. So we did this kind of little picture of the speakers that we've had to date, and it kind of made us realise that we've got all this amazing content, but it's kind of a little bit hidden. So over the summer, we've been working our derrieres off to, as Ellen mentioned, put all of our past content onto our new website, greentechsouthwest.org. So take a look. Yes, Chris, I've noticed that. Yes, Dryden's down here. That's actually Tim Kindberg. Yeah, I thought I'd changed that. I must have changed it somewhere else. Good spot, Chris. Anyway, check out our website where we're putting all the content. So on to community 60-second intros. Ellen gave a little mention of those at the start. But just to recap, the community 60-second intros are really intended to be that kind of thing, like if we were all in a room together in a pub or in an event space, it would be somebody sort of standing up from their chair, giving a wave, saying, "Hi, I'm Hannah, and I'd like to share this thing with you," or "I'm looking for help with this thing," or "I recently came across an incredible resource and I'd really, really like to share it with you." Ellen always articulates this as humble bragging. We are totally down with humble bragging. That is absolutely fine. So if you'd like to tell us about something cool that you're working on or that's of interest, this is very much what these slots are for. So Chris has already come on stage. So I'm guessing Chris has put his hand up to do our first one. And if anybody else is interested in introducing themselves or taking us up on this option, just tell us in the comments and we'll invite you on the stage. Now, Chris, no pressure for you because you're first up today. So take it you're going to give us a masterclass in how to execute a perfect 60-second slot.
No pressure. We'll just squeeze a little bit more pressure on there. Can everyone hear? Can I have thumbs up for hearing me? Is it coming through audio?
Yeah,
Awesome.
You're perfect.
Thank you so much for letting me come on, especially with my decidedly East Anglian take on being the Southwest. I just, with another friend in Cambridge, just inherited a meetup group with about 250 people in it at the moment called the Cambridge Sustainable Tech Meetup. It hasn't met for a year or so, and the guy who was running it didn't want to renew it, didn't want to pay the fees to meet up, and I just picked it up. So I thought it'd be a pity to let that go. But in looking around, we felt there were quite a lot of opportunities for people to see cool tech and people to pitch their companies. There's a lot of that going on in the broad entrepreneurial space, as well as sort of specifically sort of venues that, or forums and meetups that concentrate on sustainable tech. So what we decided we want to do, having talked to some of the membership on a meeting about a month and a half ago, was to make it more focused on working in green tech rather than the green tech itself and what it's like to be someone working in one of these companies. Perhaps it's a tech company, perhaps it's a chemical process or agricultural company, all sorts of jobs. We talk about this sort of green revolution in jobs, and I think there's a lot of chances for people to get to be inspired with the jobs that are being created in the new green tech economy. And so that's kind of where we want to place it. So my ask for today is if there's anybody watching this who is either working in green tech, and especially if you've made a transition maybe out of a different role into something that is more sustainable tech focused, we'd absolutely love to hear from you to try and get some initial speakers going. We're still working on what the meetup format will be. It will be online. We also, like Hannah said, see a lot of people from around the country and indeed around the world interested in this. So we feel that we're going to keep it online for the foreseeable. So I'd love to hear from anybody that can help. I will use the comments to give a quick, put some contact info in. And thank you very much for giving me a little slot here.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Chris. I saw, I can't remember, was it on the Cat Slack that I saw you post about this? So yes, I'm so glad that you've come along today and that hopefully our community can help your community because, you know, that's what we're all about really, is helping each other out. So thank you for coming along and sharing what you're doing.
That's awesome. Thanks for the opportunity.
Pleasure. Thank you, Chris. All right. Lovely. Now I can see Diana. Diana Finch has said she would like to come and do a 60-second pitch. So hopefully, Diana, you'll be getting a little box on your screen to say, would you like to come and join us? So please feel free to click that and come and join us on the screen. I've got my other, okay, we'll invite you again, don't worry. This is always a tense moment of, are we going to get people up on the screen? Okay, so we'll invite you again. Is there anybody else, whilst we're just waiting for Diana to come and join us, is there anybody else that would like to do a 60-second pitch today? You're very welcome to. We certainly have time to squeeze another one in after Diana. So if there's anyone else that would like to. Brilliant. Christine, you're in. So we'll invite you too. We might invite you at the same time. Yes, so Diana, what we tend to find is it being on Google Chrome seems to work best. I don't know if you're on Chrome. Yeah, okay, you are on Chrome. Okay, we're going to come back to you in a second. Diana, and we'll see if we can get you on. In the meantime, we have Christine that's come to join us. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Well, that seems to have worked. And apologies if my cat kind of puts a paw on my face, which is not unusual. I just wanted to say hello and thank you for having me in the community. I might not look like a typical green tech person, but what is that anyway? What I do is I chair the advisory board of Positive Planet UK. And I've only just joined. There's a lot of things that I want to change and develop, but it's a charity that exists to support, particularly in disadvantaged communities, the development of green tech. And in particular, in the past, has given sort of mentoring and financial support to women entrepreneurs who are producing tech to combat climate change and to repair the climate. And that for me is I do a lot of other things as well. I mean, look me up on LinkedIn, Elliot with 2 L's and 2 T's is my surname. If you'd like to connect, I'd love to do that, because I'm sure, like all of us here, we're here to change a bit of the world, or at least the bit that we can affect. And for me, the internet is all of, really important, because one of the other things I do is I'm on the advisory board of a blockchain company in Canada, and I had concerns about Bitcoin and so on because of the, if you like, the severe impact that it has on carbon footprint. So I'm just looking for stuff and to be in conversations around that. I'm delighted to meet you all. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. If you haven't found the Climate Action Tech community yet, I would strongly recommend that, especially if you want to find people that know about blockchain and crypto and stuff like that. It's a great community for chit chat about that. But,
thank you.
And you might enjoy our next event, which we are showcasing 3 women green tech entrepreneurs.
I would love that next.
Sounds up your street.
Great recommendations. I really appreciate that.
That's what we're here for. Fantastic.
Awesome in 60 seconds. That's
pretty good. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Do feel free to use the comments. Drop your details in there and let us know about the network that you're chairing. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Fantastic. Now, are we expecting anyone else on screen, Mike and Ellen? Sorry, I've sort of lost...
Just trying to get Diana in, but it's struggling a little bit. I'll do one more re-invite.
I think maybe I saw somebody sort of appear on the screen really briefly, so it might have worked briefly, but maybe there's an internet connection problem. That's usually when it goes wrong, isn't there? Okay. All right. Okay, so we can see accepted and connecting on the screen. Oh, is it going to work? If not, we can always invite Diana on at the end and give it another go, can't we? Sure. It always makes me so sad when we don't quite get this bit working. Oh, Diana, we're so sorry. I think you might be right. Okay, well, feel free to use the comments to introduce yourself and say what you were going to say. Ellen always does a fantastic roundup of all of those at the end. So they will, we'll still be able to get word out about what you're working on. We're sorry that it didn't work for you today. Okay, I think we should move on, right? Yeah, I didn't see anyone else feel like sort of standing up and waging the roulette with the internet. Is it going to work? Is it not? Okay, so Michelle has appeared on screen. So that's the cue for myself and Ellen to toddle off. So we'll see you later. We're going to hand over to Mike and Ellen to get this show on the road. So see you in a little bit.
Great, thanks very much, Hannah. Welcome, Michelle, to Green Tech Southwest. We're really, really excited for you to come along and tell us everything about Branch. I know you've had an incredibly busy month, but thank you so much for coming along. I won't take up too much of your time. Just a quick reminder to everyone, we have an Ask a Question section down the bottom, so feel free to put anything in there that you'd like me to come back and put to Michelle. If we have loads and loads of questions, Michelle's very kindly agreed to hang around after the finish just to get through those. If you do put your questions in the comments, we'll try and lift them from there and put them in the question section. So hope you all enjoy it. And yeah, it's over to you, Michelle, and I'll be back in a bit.
Hello. Cool. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to the organizing team for like such a lovely community and invitation. It's a total pleasure to be here and to talk a little bit about our experiment in Branch Magazine, which is around the idea of a just and sustainable internet for all. And Hannah kindly invited me to talk a little bit about like, what is this thing and what have we learned and where is it going, and maybe some of the themes that have come up in that, because it might be of interest to all of you. So maybe just first, hello, who the hell am I? Oh, why am I talking to you all? Yeah, my name is Michelle Thorne. I currently work with the Mozilla Foundation and more recently in partnership with the Green Web Foundation, and really have had like worked a lot around the issues of free and open culture, and particularly on free and open source software and internet, and increasingly going, you know, what the hell are we doing with our technology if it's also burning up the planet? So I've been inspired by the feminist movement and also the solar punk movement, which we can talk about later, as a way to kind of reclaim optimism and the opportunity to build alternative futures. So this is kind of the attitude or the spirit that I'm bringing into this talk, and also that was about how it was kind of how helped motivate the making of Branch Magazine. But maybe to start with like a little bit of context. This might not be news to you all here, but I feel like it's helpful to ground it in this idea that the internet, it's the world's largest cold-powered machine. It's huge infrastructure. It spans the globe, and it runs, a lot of it runs on fossil fuels. So much so that, I mean, you're probably also familiar with this stat that 2% of the world's carbon emissions can be attributed to the internet, probably even more if you count, depending on how you count it. But really, we're talking about a significant piece of our infrastructure, our digital infrastructure, still being powered by dinosaurs. And I've been talking a lot, and you might also be familiar with Chris Adams, who works with the Green Web Foundation and Climate Action Tech. And he and I have been trying to think about ways to talk about these issues. So I wanted to share one attempt at that, which is like, okay, the internet, it's like shipping, you know, it's this network of processes, tools, machines that span the globe to deliver things. And like shipping, which runs on some of the dirtiest bunker fuel, this is something that's really has very direct human environmental costs from the direct emissions of it. But also these systems are part of like a larger extractivist force to speed up our consumption, speed up the expansion and consolidation of powers. And so when I think about the internet like shipping, it helps me to see, okay, we're also seeing, it helps me ground the fact that these are not, you know, ephemeral clouds, but really, you know, data centers, undersea cables, like the devices that we have in our hands. These are all physical and real, and to make those things, they have a cost. To use them, they have a cost, and to, you know, the end of life stuff also has a cost. And I think this is something that just more slowly as a tech sector we're coming to grips with. And I think we see this kind of dissonance right now between, on the one hand, the climate crisis intensifying, fires, floods, droughts, you know, the very real effects of the climate crisis. And then people like myself who believe in the power of the internet to connect, to inform, to entertain, to organize, to be a force for, human connectivity. And so there's this dissonance then between this crisis and this tool that we've made, this internet. And I think we're just seeing more and more people wanting to go, well, I don't want, you know, this dissonance is disturbing to me and I want to do something about it. And so, yeah, getting at the heart of this dissonance is something that I've been trying to figure out for myself for the last few years. And
share a quote that I really appreciate from Chris Adams of the Green Web Foundation. And he says, when we talk about a sustainable internet, we often talk about energy, but we should be talking about power. And I think this emphasis on power is something incredibly important. We're talking here political power, economic power, power, in the way in terms of human relationships. And I think that this is something that as a tech industry, we sometimes maybe don't realize the power that we have through our professional roles, through our professional access, through the tools and skills, et cetera, that we have. And, there's and also power as like members of society and as citizens. And so I think this kind of recognizing of our own power plus recognizing the powers that have to change is part of like, at least where I'm kind of getting interested in what we can actually do. So this motivation came a little bit to then make a magazine that tried to explore some of those issues. So trying to reaffirm, okay, the internet, it should be really serving our collective liberation. It should be serving our ecological sustainability. And who are the people doing cool projects that are actually greening the web technically and aesthetically and politically? Like, where is that going on, and how can we foster that and uplift those efforts? So that was the impetus to make something. And this is maybe where the solar punk stuff comes in, which is more of a movement and like a aesthetic movement to say to reclaim optimism and to say it's been taken away from us, and we actually want a future that is hopeful, that is inclusive, that is sustainable, that is in service to our collective liberation. And let's make art, but let's also make code, and let's make communities that are, fulfilling that. So we made this little magazine. It's called Branch, and we have made 2 issues. And it's an online magazine that runs on WordPress, and it features in total about 50 different articles from people from Amazon to living in the Amazon. And I can really recommend it just as a place to see different ways people are thinking about these issues from a policy perspective, from a design perspective, from a code perspective, from a political perspective. And a few things I just wanted to share that might be interesting for this crew are what went into making the website itself. So we also said, like, let's not just write about this sustainable, just internet that we dream of, but let's try to make it somehow. So the idea was hatched to have a website that adapts to the grid intensity of your current internet connection. And so if you're, for example, on a connection that's running on a lot of renewables, you get more data, you get richer images and videos, and that's because it's just running on renewables. There's more resources there for you to take advantage of. And then when you're running on more fossil fuels, we send less data. So there'll be like more text or kind of dithered images. And so here, let's see if this little video works of showing them side by side. So I wanted to give a huge shout out to Tom Jarrett, who helped design this, and to the amazing Hannah on this call, and to Jack Lennox, who've made this into a real working website and a real working set of features. So you can see like the different statuses of the website. And one thing I think is really exciting about this is that it starts to show how we can approach a sustainable internet in a more dynamic way. Like, we don't have to choose whether it's all HD all the time, or whether it's just simple text, but rather we have the opportunity to be dynamic with what's available currently on the grid, designing for that variability. And I think that this idea of, designing for this carbon awareness is really exciting. And this is only just maybe the very, very beginning of those ideas. So you can check out some of the code, and Hannah might have a better update on some of the ways of actually getting into the code itself. But it is one thing we did want to do is we wanted to make it open source. We wanted to make it on WordPress, and we wanted to make it so that others can play with and build on these kinds of ideas. Because, if one website plays with this, it doesn't mean anything in the big scheme of things. But maybe there's actually a lot of us experimenting in different ways with both greening our website, but also with challenging the norms web design and web development. So that's a little bit the history, or the where's Branch magazine. And I wanted to show a few projects that were also featured in there because they might be a bit fun. So this one is called the Museum of the Fossilized Internet. And the idea is that it's a miniature museum from the future. And what it's doing is it's looking back on today and saying, what were the major polluters of the internet in the era of 2020? And so there's like a tiny handmade Bitcoin mining rig, or tiny little ad tracking, and tiny little Second Life avatars, things like this. This is here an image of some Netflix socks, and a VR headset, and Amazon Echo, and a Roomba, and all these kinds of connected devices that are just sending data around almost limitlessly. So this was a kind of a fun project made by Gabby Ivins, and these photos are by Nina Zimmerman, and was just exhibited at Ars Electronica and at the V&A over the weekend. And I think a fun way to kind of imagine what goes into this museum, both in terms of like who are the polluters today, but like maybe we can also imagine like a lobby area of this museum that tells a story of like, well, what did we do differently to get to a fossil-free internet? And what were the things that happened? What campaigns were run, and what tools were developed, and what politicians changed power, or whatever that actually led to that change. So that's maybe a fun provocation. And then these other ones here, this is a little photo from a project called Data Garden by a group called Grow Your Own Cloud. And they're experimenting, it's very kind of design fiction a bit, but they have a working prototype of using DNA to store data. And so there's a kind of, I guess, emerging scene around what does long-term data storage look like? And what are the ways we could actually introduce some tools of biology to help us explore new ways of storing data. So they have some cool experiments in the Grow Your Own Cloud project. Another amazing project is Solar Protocol by Tiga Brain and a few others. And the idea of Solar Protocol, also a working prototype, is that it's a network of servers around the world that are delivering you the website based on where there's the most sun. And what I love about this project is similar to how we made the Branch website. It starts to show you, it starts to be more dynamic around like what is currently happening on Earth, where is energy currently coming from, where are there renewables. And another thing I like about Solar Protocol is they also have this kind of community server steward thing where they really show you, here's the server that, this little tiny solar powered server that's serving up this website, and where is it, and who's taking care of it. And it's kind of like cozy and knowable instead of these big, vast, big box centered data centers that people just rent. So anyway, the Solar Protocol site I think is also quite cool. And then lastly, a shout out maybe to Superflex. Superflex, they're a kind of design agency based in London, and Anab Jain and her husband John, they really have, I think, been doing such amazing kind of climate speculation and solar punk work for a long time. And they wrote an article, like a kind of original story for Branch magazine. And they started to talk about kind of challenging this sense of a binary future. It's going to be all good or all bad, but rather they brought in shades in terms of like community monitoring and censoring and sensing of environmental data, or about seed planting and things like this. And I really appreciate their work because I think they use the technology kind of goes into the background of their stories, and it doesn't necessarily fetishize the tech that is available or not available, but rather explores what sort of like political and social futures might we be having. So yeah, I can recommend the work of Superflex as well. Yeah, and then maybe to kind of wrap up this section about Branch, it was super exciting. I don't know if people had a chance to, if you were in London, there was just the Digital Design Weekend, and we got to exhibit at the V&A. And so this is our buddy Tom Jarrett holding up a physical copy of the magazine inside the V&A. And Chris and I were just at the Ars Electronica Festival, where we hosted a symposium around these issues. And we really feel like, okay, this is just the beginning of starting to like explore these topics. So a huge shout out to like the team, the branch team, Carrie, Hannah, Jack, Laurence, Chris, Tom, and myself, and then lots of people who've helped made it happen. We're going to have a issue 3 hopefully this November, and we're interested, if people are interested in like both like, you know, submitting topics or wanting to write something or have work that you think should be featured, or also ways to distribute this, we're also super open to hear, you know, ideas and recommendations and ways to kind of evolve this project. But maybe then just the last, so that's about branch, and then I just wanted to connect it to like a kind of a larger, maybe political and technical push, which is around the idea of a fossil-free internet by 2030. So this is work that I'm doing together with the Green Web Foundation and with others around, okay, what would it take to actually decarbonize the internet, and to do that, you know, in the next 9 years. The good news is that there is actually a lot of progress, but that progress tends to be held by big tech companies. And so one of the things that I see as a challenge is, how do we not further consolidate the power of big tech companies in this push to decarbonize? And so how can we be making space for, I'll call it the open internet, to flourish and to really have viable, sustainable, non-big tech hosted solutions out there. And so this is a thing that if people are interested in, I'd love to talk about, like if you're doing work in this space or have ideas for how we might do that. Because we need to have this generally a transition to a more advanced and humane society. And we won't be able to change the actual physics of climate change. Climate change is here, it's happening, it will happen. But we can change the economics and the politics around it. So maybe it doesn't have to happen as intensely or as to as many people. And I feel like this place of economic and political change is really where we're going to see a lot of opportunity, and where technology should be in service to that kind of change. This kind of change is also going to be spurred by things like solar being the cheapest electricity in history. And maybe there's ways to start to think about, better connecting this idea of a sustainable internet to, solar power and to other kinds of renewables. And just the policies in general that we're seeing, the political policies that are really pushing for, ambitious change in terms of electricity and energy policy. And I think similarly, we're going to want to see a push to have, just like the energy sector is starting to change and open up a lot through both technical innovation and policy. I think we're also hopefully would see an era of community tech or sustainable tech that starts to flourish in the next few years, that is in response to some of these big global challenges. So I'll skip the next slide, but just to say, there's another way if you're interested in this work, and also shout out to the amazing Hannah, who's part of this program too. With the Green Web Foundation, we started a Green Web Fellowship program with 5 amazing people who are looking at how might we center climate justice in internet practitioners' work, in their practice. And we're trying to make a syllabus, which is like, how can you learn the skills and attitudes and competencies of climate justice and connection to tech, and how could you apply that, to your work and to your personal life. So, if you're interested in those sorts of things, definitely check out the Green Web Foundation and the Green Web Fellowship. And there's lots of other ways to get involved. There's already been some nice shout outs to Climate Action Tech, which I can really recommend as a great place to connect with other technologists who are interested in working on the climate crisis in some form, and just getting upskilled and learning. And of course, you all are in the UK, and you have a huge opportunity with COP coming up. And I'm sure you all are way more familiar with ways to get involved in that, but I feel like, making your voice heard politically and at venues like this, it's going to go a long way. We're seeing that the push, that these things do matter when people push. So keep pushing. And thank you all so much for this chance to share, and look forward to questions and discussions with you all.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Michelle. Some really interesting topics coming up and projects that you've sort of picked out there. We're just waiting for a few more questions to come through, but yeah, congratulations on the award, the ARS Electronica Award. Was that something that you kind of had an outside chance you might win, or was that a complete surprise to get that?
Yeah, it was a complete surprise. Yeah, we didn't know that. I mean, someone had nominated us. I'm not sure where that came from, and we applied after that nomination, and then we're like, "Wow, okay, this is cool."
Well, congratulations on that, and yeah, thank you very much for such an informative talk. And yeah, we'll have I think we've gotten a round of applause in the comments there, but you probably won't have seen the comments as you were talking, but yeah, loads of resources and links being sent around there, which Ellen's going to summarise and will be on our website at some point later today. But fantastic. And when's the next issue out?
November. Crossing fingers.
Great. Have you got enough content at the moment? I mean, how do you go about gathering it and getting it from submissions and stuff?
So it's a combination of interesting things we see like on the internet and in our networks, and we invite people to do stuff, and other things are people proposing. So if any of you have things that you would like to see or want to write about, like get in touch up with the link in here. There's a way for people to submit like just very short ideas if you have like something you want to have in the future.
Fantastic. Yeah, hopefully we can spread the word and get even more submissions. Is it quite hard to select what to feature? Because I guess you get content from all kinds of places, don't you?
I guess, I mean, we only produce it like twice a year, so it's I think that's probably the harder thing, is like kind of waiting. Hannah can probably talk to some of the pain and challenges of being like in a kind of 6-month cycle, but we're doing this all as like a side project, so this is also trying to be sustainable with what we can put towards it as well.
Yeah, great stuff. And obviously your website is sort of very carbon friendly, isn't it, in terms of its sort of footprint? Is that quite important?
Yeah, I think it's Tom Jarrett wrote a really nice article in the I can drop the link in a moment, where he talked about how to design with like sustainable web principles, and a lot of it is around like it's a lot of things together. Each one of them in their own probably is not like a huge improvement, but like using system fonts, or we use actually a feature Tom worked on called Cabin, which is kind of a non-Google Analytics tool, so we can reduce things like unnecessary intrusive tracking. Like I think there's, at least in my estimation, like a ton of things people can be doing in the sustainable web space that there are lots of small best practices, and I think kind of bringing them together into a site is exciting. But then I just think it's also like, how are they then going to push the industry to have the norms go more in that direction too? So but yeah, there's lots of little things one can do, and I'm sure people on here have also played around with some experiments and stuff.
Yeah, great stuff. We've actually had a comment from Christine, who's I think he's looking to invite you to come and talk to PP UK about your work. So yeah, well, I'm sure we can kind of connect you two. Are you aware of each other? Do you know each other?
Christine, I'm going to send you my email address, and you can email me about it.
Great stuff. Thank you for that. Good stuff. What's the reaction been to Branch so far, and have you been pleased with what's come back?
Yeah, just a second. I'm going to put this. I think so. I think in the end, it's also just a magazine, so it also is like limitations on what you were really doing. But I feel my sense is that there is a real appetite for not just analysis of what's wrong. People know things are fucked up. Like, we know we're in a crisis. We know that our technology landscape has a lot of issues. And so my sense is that people are really motivated by action. And I feel like action turns, like, if you're feeling scared, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling angry, like, action is the best remedy. And I think that at least that sentiment for me has really resonated, and seeing people then try to take these emotions, but also take the sense of like possibility back and make things, I think has been really helpful. And so I've really appreciated a lot of the like specific things people are doing, like how are they changing things in their org, how are they building a sustainable business, how are they like pushing at big tech. I think these are all ways we're trying to make it better.
Yeah, great stuff. I guess you know, a lot of people that might sort of read the magazine and kind of enjoy some of the articles, do they reach out to you directly and kind of comment, or do they try and get a bit more involved and maybe become a bit more active in that world?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we often are sending people off to other places like Climate Action Tech and stuff. And I think my sense is also that there's a lot people can and should be doing to connect to these issues locally, which is why I also really appreciate what you all are doing, is like, you know, knowing that these are global challenges, but you also need local community, and you're going to feel the impacts locally, and as well as that's where you're going to probably have also the most like political opportunity. And so I think so super awesome that you all are having this like local focus. And I think maybe in an ideal world, we can be connecting between these kind of global issues like internet infrastructure and climate change to like local action and local learning. So I think what you all are doing is a really great way of kind of having that conversation.
Yeah, we're really lucky actually in Southwest to have, you know, such a sort of growing movement, I suppose, of not just new businesses trying to solve problems with technology, but also existing businesses that are really looking to get more kind of green conscious and you know, kind of really drive down to net zero. And you know, that's definitely something since we started the group that, you know, we've seen in sort of Bristol, Bath and beyond. So so yeah, no, it's definitely, it's good to go local, but as we've said, with our online kind of nature, we're lucky to hear from lots of businesses across the UK and across Europe and the world, which has been brilliant. What's been the sort of your favourite project that you've featured on the 2 issues so far? What's the one that you kind of were really excited about?
I think I probably shared some of the ones that I think are kind of maybe the most magnetic in terms, because they have good imagery and stuff, but there's a lot of things on there that don't lend themselves so well to a presentation, but actually have pretty powerful ideas behind them. So I'd also recommend the work. She's written 2 articles by Camila Nobrega, who's a journalist from Brazil, and she writes a lot about, I guess, like feminist decolonial takedowns of like mega infrastructure and around, you know, I mean, yeah, she did this amazing interview with this Amazonian like indigenous rights leader in one issue, and then another she talked about like the mining that's happening in Brazil, the mining that then goes to fuel internet infrastructure. And so I think that when we think about like tech as a solution, we have a responsibility to also think about all these other impacts, like where are these resources coming from and whose lives are being impacted and who's the solution for, like who are we assuming is part of the conversation. And so I really like Camille's work because she helps like broaden that and ground that into yeah, so I can really recommend her work. Yeah, thank you for people posting those links in here.
Oh, great stuff. Have you got any kind of statistics or kind of info on who your kind of audience is, or kind of how that's growing, where people are kind of reading this from, and maybe what they do?
Yeah, this is the great question. So in here, people are posting links to Cabin, which is the non-Google analytics tool we've been using by the group called Normally. And so I think it does have geographic breakdown, but I think it's also much more like anonymized and less creepy in terms of knowing where people come from. But I know Hannah's on here, so she can give me a poke, because I'm notoriously bad and not so good at like following analytics. So I actually don't know necessarily where people are coming from or what brings them there.
I think she might be popping on screen to help you out with that one.
She can help me out.
Well, I was only coming on to say I'm not sure off the top of my head, but if you give me 2 minutes, I'll have a quick peek and come back to you.
Got the power. There you go.
I've got the power.
Good stuff. What are your hopes for Branch? You know, what do you kind of see as a success from here?
I mean, I hope it helps like inspire and uplift action, really. Like that would be the best thing, is I hope in a few years' time we wouldn't need projects like this because we actually have the fossil-free internet. But in the meantime, I think like a sense of hope and possibility, like not naive hope, but like grounded in like, this is the shit we got to do and this is how we're going to do it. And this kind of sense of like camaraderie and possibility is a hope that I have, at least for it.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, great. And is there any, are there any other sort of similar sort of magazines or kind of I suppose sort of newsletters or anything like that that you follow yourself that you'd recommend?
Yeah, I guess if people are interested in also the political angles of tech, I can really recommend Logic Magazine. They're maybe one of the I would say one of the people that inspired us to even make a magazine. So Logic Magazine has been around for 2 or 3 years, maybe, or maybe a bit more, and really like incredible analysis about about tech power and its impact and social impacts. So I think they're amazing. And yeah, in terms of like, I think there's also been in the pandemic like a kind of like a Cambrian explosion of like magazine and self-publishing thing, which I think is because we've been bottled up and we wanted to write and think and talk with people. So actually there's been a lot of really new publications. So today I'm just going to meet with a woman who runs Compost, which is a magazine about a decentralized web, sustainability in a decentralized web. Check it out. Super nice site. But yeah, I'd love to hear what other people are reading or what you all are liking.
Yeah, that'd be really good actually. If anyone wants to put any other links or sites that we can all check out, if you want to drop any of those into the comments.
I'm on screen, so I can just like butt in, can't I? And say,
you've got a load of them, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I've always got tons of magazines, but because I'm moving, I've packed them all away. So normally I'd like grab them off my shelf and show you. But two of my absolute favourites are Off Screen magazine, which talks about the human side of technology, and of course, humanity, environmentalism. As much as we hate to acknowledge it, we are intertwined. So Off Screen is brilliant. And one that Chris put me onto actually is The Beam as well. Yeah. I'm not sure if they're still publishing at the moment, but Beam is great for sort of climate friendly solutions. Very inspiring. I always read that and feel good to know that people are out there doing nice things.
Thanks for other people putting in some links. There's also Emergence magazine. I mean, I just love, there's so many amazing good indie magazines. Like this is making Branch is just me being like a wannabe of like all these other cool magazines. So I think there's so many places that are writing like in print and digitally that I think are just really inviting. And so I guess one thing is exciting is like thinking about what affordances does an online magazine have versus, because we didn't really have a print magazine. And so I think that might be fun to geek out with you all if people are interested in like things that you've seen and love about digital, digital writing or digital magazines, and like ways we could get really webby about it, because I think that's the opportunity of actually making something on the internet, is really like making it, more dynamic, more webby. So if people have ideas around that, we're definitely keen to play.
Yeah, just seeing if there's any other questions, really. Don't be shy. If you've got anything you want to put to Michelle, now's the time. Okay, there's nothing coming through, but yeah, Hannah, obviously you've been helping out a lot with Branch. Can you talk through kind of your involvement and kind of what you've enjoyed working on as well?
Well, I don't feel I can really take much credit for Branch, because Jack is the one that did all the dev for Branch, and I just came in to help out on issue 2 and get a few things done quickly. But there's some really interesting technical stuff going on with Branch. So we've got some really interesting caching stuff going on. So I'm going to get a bit geeky for a minute. I'm really sorry. I'll keep it short, and then just tell me. You might just tell me to shush when everyone's lost interest. But yeah, we have a Redis cache caching all the sites. So it's because there's nothing dynamic really going on with the site. They're mainly static pages. It's not like a shop, or data's not really changing much, you can get away with really, really, really hard caching the site. So it's absolutely taking every single page request is having the minimum load on the server. And so that's brilliant. That's really, really great for keeping it sustainable. And then Jack also wrote mainly using JavaScript, a way of swapping the images out based on the carbon intensity of the grid. So if you look at the site today, you'll see it's kind of got this lime green color in the background, which is telling us that it's low carbon intensity. I've got to be honest, if I want to know what's going on with the UK carbon intensity, I do tend to visit Branch Magazine and see what colour it is and go, oh, it's green today, so we're having a good windy day. There's always side benefits, aren't there?
I think that's really cool. Do any other websites do that? Where's that idea come from? Do you know?
Michelle, you would know that better than me, I think, because I just stand on the shoulders of other people with this. So.
Yeah, I think that was just one of the early ideas from the early brainstorming. We're like, what if we could make a website that dynamically changed depending on? And then I think, Jack Lennox really helped make the code, and Chris Adams helped, I think through the what APIs we could call on. And if people are interested, I really feel like this kind of idea of carbon aware web design, web development is this is just one little trick of that, but I really feel like there's a whole lot we could do to explore this concept fuller. So if people are interested in that, I think we're really keen to, in future issues, to pilot and prototype other ways of making this more dynamic.
I think it's worth saying that before I started work on the site, I assumed that there'd be some really hardcore magic code going on to make it sustainable. And actually, I was quite surprised that if you're a developer and you've got a fair level of experience, it's actually not that hard to do. I was expecting full-on magic mystery to be going on here, but I read the code and I was like, oh, crikey, okay. Why aren't we all doing this? Hopefully we'll get there and get everyone doing it. But yeah, it's if anyone's sitting there thinking, oh, I couldn't possibly do this, as a developer, actually you would be able to. It's not as hard as you think. And I don't know if you noticed in the comments there, Nick Lewis, who's one of our past speakers and is founder of the Sustainable Dev, is now works down at Leap. I think I've said that right, Nick. It's Leap, isn't it? And he's just posted that he's building on a site that's carbon responsive too. So well done, Nick.
Nice.
It's good to see. Any further questions? Anyone from our lovely audience?
It's quite quiet today.
Yeah,
that's all right.
Just taking it in and looking at all the links.
Yeah, there's a lot of links, and I think one of the things, and maybe Hannah, you're also hinting at this with the cache stuff, but I think one of the features we also want to try out is more offline first practices. And I think it's one of these things of challenging what is innovation and what is tech progress. And I actually think this kind of emphasizing things like offline is awesome. And we need more of this kind of offline first. Not only does it send less data, but also it's more resilient. We've seen in places that we've lived, power outages and fuel shortages and all these things that we realize okay, if we're going to want to have access to these systems, and actually making things that work offline is awesome for a lot of people. So I think these are the kinds of, I guess, values and experiments that I think we just need more of.
No, fantastic. Great stuff. Well, thank you, Michelle. It was really, really great to hear more about Branch and obviously the Green Web Foundation as well. Some amazing projects that you're involved in, which I'm sure everyone's going to get behind as well. So, as we mentioned, Ellen will try her best to wrap up everything that's happened in the comments and get those the slides out as well, which I know a lot of people like to look at as well. I've just had one question in. Okay, a quick question from Julie. Which CMS would you recommend for people to build a quick green website? WordPress, Squarespace, sorry.
I would maybe defer to Hannah, but I do like using, it seems like WordPress has had a lot of, maybe Hannah, I actually would defer to you, or what you think has worked well.
I think it's a bit of a kind of a question. It's almost a non-question because it's not so much the CMS itself that's sustainable or not sustainable. It's often what you do with it, how you use the tool. So a lot of people will bash WordPress and say, "Oh, it can't be sustainable. It's blah blah blah." I mean, I think you look at what we've done with Branch magazine. I think you might say, "Well, I think actually you could say it is." But if you're not a web developer, I'm biased. I am going to say WordPress, of course, because I think it has a good balance of being able for a non-techie to use or a techie to use, like whichever end of the spectrum that you're on. And I think that there is an increasing amount of resources on the web to help you figure out how to make WordPress green as well. So I think if you're not sure where to start, I don't think you can go wrong with that. And I'd say that actually the thing that will set you in the best stead is to look at the theme that you're using. So was it a question from Julie, Mike? Did you say? Yes, Julie. Yeah, so Julie, if you do go with WordPress, just have a look for themes that are performant. So basically that do well on Lighthouse scores or Google PageSpeed scores. But I don't think you can go. I think you'll be all right with WordPress. I think it's as good a choice as any other out there. I'm sure that there's lots of people now sitting there at home, probably screaming at the screen, going, "No, Hannah, what do you want about? What do you want about? This is best, this is best, this is best." But as I say, I do think it all comes down to how you wield the tool rather than the tool itself, actually.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Julie. Any more for any more? I think that might be it. So yeah, we'll hand over to Hannah to kind of wrap up, and we've got a few events to talk about and some things coming up. But yeah, once again, thank you very much, Michelle. Yeah, we wish you the best of luck with Branch, and I think you're going to get some subscribers today. Yeah, and very best of luck getting that third issue out, which I know how busy you are, so good luck to both of you on that. Yeah.
No, well, thank you all for the invitation. Thanks for this really lovely meetup. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Oh, Michelle, thank you so much. Well done. It was brilliant. It's so great to have you telling us all about this amazing stuff that you know about. Wow, you're such a font of knowledge. I just never believe it when you talk about it. You're just like, oh, there's this and this and this. And you're brilliant. Thank you. All right, cool. So I am going to round off. Oh yeah, don't make me small. I need to be big.
Make myself bigger.
Okay. All right, I am going to just round off, as Mike said, with a few slides, as we always do at the end of the talk, just to signpost you to further stuff. Although I think today has been, a massive signposting exercise with cool stuff. Mike, I think the slides need to be bigger. I'm a bit scared. Do you know how? Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to boot myself off because I feel like I've done that before. Anyway, right, rounding off today's events. So we mentioned to you at the beginning that we are supported by a couple of awesome organisations who kind of give us in-kind support for this, for what we do at Green Tech Southwest. If you haven't heard of the Future Leap Network, they used to be called the Future Economy Network. I think they're kind of in a transition stage, so we've got both names up on the screen at the moment. If you haven't checked them out and you are based in Bristol or the Southwest, definitely do. They have loads of events that they run themselves, and also on their website loads of events that partner organisations like us run as well. I picked out a couple of interesting ones. Now there's one called Netwalking. I thought kind of wanted to pick that one out because there seems to be a bit of a trend I've noticed lately of obviously with COVID restrictions and people perhaps not feeling quite ready to get back into a room together. There seems to be a lot of netwalking stroke networking events popping up. Future Economy have one tomorrow. And I've also picked out another event called Sustainable Cities Around the World. And they've run this event already, and the first one was really popular. And I think it's really nice to be inspired by what other places are doing. It helps you dream big, doesn't it? So that's a really interesting event on the 21st as well. We've mentioned Climate Action Tech, one of our other supporting organisations. The eagle-eyed ones amongst you will notice that Branch magazine is actually hosted on the CAT website. And we've posted loads of links to Branch today, so I'm sure you wouldn't have missed that. CAT also run loads of events as well. They tend to be quite small, they tend to be very discursive, so you get presented a topic and then you get a chance to discuss those topics. I always learn a ton when I go to CAT events. I highly recommend that you check it out. We're going to share these slides, or Ellen kindly will share these slides at the end. So if you want to find CAT on meetup.com, you can follow the link in this slide. And of course, there's the CAT Slack community as well. We were just chatting before we started today's event that we're in autumn, aren't we? So there's just like this explosion of stuff happening again. And I kind of struggled to keep it to one slide today. But I picked out a couple of other interesting events, and Mike signposted a couple as well. We found one on architecting for sustainability on AWS, which we thought was interesting. That's tomorrow. The Bristol Green Capital Partnership. If you're Bristol based, highly recommend heading along to the Green Mingle. It's always lovely, meet great people. It's on October the 7th. Andy Hawkins, who is one of our Green Tech Southwest regulars and very involved in the B Corp movement. Andy is presenting Using Your Business as a Force for Good on October the 11th as part of the Bristol Tech Festival, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a tick. And here's another one I mentioned of these sort of like walk and talk networking things. The Tech for Good Southwest chapter is rebooting after being a bit quiet for a while. That walk and talk is on October the 15th. I think if I recall rightly, it was Bitton. So that's between Bath and Bristol for those of you that are local. So Bristol Tech Fest, we are presenting 3 inspiring Bristol Green Tech innovators at Bristol Tech Festival, and that's our next event on Thursday the 14th of October. So we have rounded up 3 absolutely amazing women, and I am so chuffed that we're able to do this event. We're going to have Jaya from Project Varna talking about using data to find places to plant trees. We've got Rachel, who is another Green Tech Southwest regular. She's going to be talking about creating a sustainable e-learning and publishing business, so her own business, Buttercup Learning. I've got a feeling my face might just be in the way on that bottom slide, but that bottom slide is the fantastic Molly Allington, who's CEO of a company called Albotherm, and they're doing some very clever technical things, looking at different ways to cool things, particularly with paints. So it's a very different kind of technology to digital technology, but still something we are absolutely stoked to be showcasing. So if you want to come and be inspired by some fantastic people in Bristol doing some fantastic things, come along on Thursday the 14th of October. We'll be online again. And then after that, we are going to talk about hydrogen. Don't know if any of you noticed in the summer months that hydrogen was just everywhere because the UK published a strategy about hydrogen. We tried really hard to find a local person to talk about hydrogen, but we weren't able to secure a local person. But we've probably come better than that because we've got Ulrike she's from Germany, but crikey, she absolutely knows everything there is to know about hydrogen. And so she's going to be delivering our talk on November the 23rd. And if you want to hear from an expert on hydrogen, she is the lady to listen to. So we feel like we've got a bit of a coup, actually, by being able to present Ulrika at Green Tech Southwest. And then just going to finish up very quickly, because I know a lot of you will have to get back to work. We have a forest, Green Tech Southwest Forest, which is hosted with Bristol-based Ecology. And we plant trees for every event that we run. So if you've enjoyed today's event and if we were socialising together, you might say, let me buy you a pint or a coffee or, a little bit of cake or something to say thank you for today. Instead, our online option is that you can plant some trees instead. So we'll share that link in the comments very shortly. And then, your feedback means a lot to us. We mentioned the questionnaire at the beginning of today. So if you have time to fill in our questionnaire with it's a short questionnaire, we promise, and they're not difficult questions, they're easy questions. If you've got time to give us your thoughts, we'd be super grateful. And And that wraps us up for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for being part of our audience. We do not have Green Tech Southwest without our audience. And we never, ever take for granted that you give us your time to come along to our events and that you engage so thoroughly and kindly with our community. So thank you so much. Go well. And we hope we see you all again super, super soon. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the talk and go well. Okay, bye everyone.